You are listening to a cassette recording of a channeling session from the Raw Contact, a series of 106 sessions that were conducted between 1981 and 1984, using a form of tuned trance telepathy. Throughout these sessions, a group of entities identified as Ra shared information regarding the Law of One, spiritual evolution, and a variety of esoteric topics through a series of questions and answers. The full text transcript of these recorded sessions can be read for free at lnlresearch.org, where you can also learn more about this audio and its origins. This recording is intended for personal study and is not available for commercial use. Please contact LNL Research if you wish to use this audio in any other way.
Raw, session number 94, August 26th, 1982.
The love and in the light of the one infinite creator, I communicate now.
Could you first please give me the condition of the instrument?
I am Ra. There is a small increase in physical energy deficit. It is not substantial. All else is as at the previous asking.
Questions here from the instrument. 1. Is our fifth density friend responsible for the instrument's extreme distortion towards pain during and just after sessions?
I am Ra. Yes.
Is there anything that we could do that we're not doing to remedy this situation so that the instrument does not experience this pain or as much of it?
I am Ra. There is a little that can be done due to a complex of pre-existing distortions. The distortions are attributable in the source. There is the, shall we say, less than adequate a work of your chirurgeons, which allows for various distortions in the left wrist area. There is the distortion called systemic lupus erythematosus, which causes the musculature of the lower left and right arms to allow for distortions in the normal, shall we say, configuration of bone. Lastly, there is the nerve damage, more especially to the left, but in both appendages from the thoracic outlet. In the course of the awakening behavior, the instrument can respond to the various signals which ring the toxin of pain, thus alerting the mind complex, which in turn moves the physical complex in many and subtle configurations which relieve the various distortions. Your friend greets these distortions as has been stated before, immediately prior to the beginning of the working. However, during the working, the instrument is not with its yellow ray, a chemical, a vehicle, and thusly the many small movements which could most effectively aid in the decrease of these distortions is not possible. Ra must carefully examine the mental configurations of the mind complex in order to make even the grossest manipulation. It is not our skill to use a yellow ray vehicle. The weight of the cover has some deleterious effect upon these distortions in some cases, and thus we mentioned that there was a small thing which could be done. That is the framing of that which lifted the coverlet from the body slightly in order to compensate for loss of warmth. The wearing of a material warming the manual appendages would then be indicated.
Immediately think of the instrument wearing long underwear under the robe that it now wears and an extremely light white cover. Would this be satisfactory?
I am Ra. Due to this instrument's lack of radiant physical energy, the heavier a cover is suggested.
In your statement near the beginning of it, you said less than adequate work of your, and there was a word that I didn't understand at all. Are you familiar with the word that I'm trying to understand?
I am Ra.
until we transcribe the material. I assume that our fifth density negative friend doesn't cause the distortion all the time simply because he wishes to emphasize the fact that the instrument is going to be distorted only if she attempts one of these service to others working, therefore attempting to stifle the workings. Is correct?
I am wrong. This is partially correct. The incorrect portion is this. The entity of which you speak has found its pure essence less than adequate to mount a continuous assault upon this instrument's physical vehicle, and has, shall we say, chosen the more effective of the space, a time, an XI of this instrument's experience for its service.
Can you tell me why I have felt so extremely tired on several recent occasions?
I am wrong. This has been covered in a previous material. The contact which you now experience costs a certain amount of the energy which each of the group brought into manifestation in the present incarnation. Although the brunt of this cost falls upon the instrument, it is a caparisoned by pre-incarnative design with the light and a gladsome armor of and a will to a far more conscious extent than most a mind, a body, a spirit, a complexes are able to enjoy without much training and initiation. And those of the support group also offer the essence of will and a faith in service to others, supporting the instrument as it releases itself completely in the service of the One Creator. Therefore, each of the support group also experiences a awareness of the Spirit, which is indistinguishable from a physical energy deficit, except that if each experiments with this awareness, each shall discover the physical energy in its usual distortion.
Thank you. I didn't mean to go over previous material. I should phrase my question more carefully so that that is what I expected. I was trying to get a confirmation of my fact I suspected that. I will be more careful in questioning from now. From the instrument, we have the question. While vacationing, I uncovered a lot about myself not consciously known before. It seems to me that I coast on the spiritual gifts given at birth and never have spent any time getting to know my human self, which seems to be a child, immature and irrational. Is this so?
I am wrong. This is partially correct.
And she says, if this is so, this seems to be part of the riddle about the manner of beingness that Ra spoke of. I fear if I do not work successfully on my human distortions, I shall be responsible for losing the contact. Yet also Ra suggests the over dedication to any outcome is unwise. Can Ra comment on these thoughts?
I am Ra. We comment in a general first upon the query about the contact which indicates once again that the instrument views the mind, a body, a spirit, a complex with a jaundiced eye. Each a mind, a body, a spirit, a complex that is seeking shall almost certainly have the immature and irrational behaviors. It is also the case that this entity, as well as almost all seekers, have done substantial work within the framework of the incarnative experience, and have indeed developed maturity and rationality. That this instrument should fail to see that which has been accomplished and see only that which remains to be accomplished may well be noted. Indeed, any a seeker discovering in itself this complex of a mental and a mental emotional distortions shall ponder the possible non-efficacy of judgment. As we approach the second portion of the query, we view the possibility of infringement upon a free will. However, we believe we may make a reply within the boundaries of the law of confusion. This a particular instrument was not trained, nor did it study, nor worked it at any discipline in order to contact Ra. We were able, as we have said many times, to contact this group using this instrument because of the purity of this instrument's dedication to the service of the one infinite Creator. And also because of the great amount of harmony and acceptance enjoyed each by each within the group. This situation making it possible for the support group to function without significant distortion. We are humble messengers. How can any thought be taken by an instrument as to the will of the Creator? We thank this group that we may speak through it, but the future is mazed. We cannot know whether our jest may, after one final working, be complete. Can the instrument then think for a moment that it shall cease in the service of the one infinite Creator? We ask the instrument to ponder these queries and observations.
From the previous session, the statement was made that much is veiled to the most apparently clear observation. Would Ra expand on what was meant by that statement? I assume that this means veiling of all of that is outside the limits of what we call our physical perception, having to do with spectrum of light, etc., but I also intuit there is more than that veil, and would Ra expand on that concept?
I am Ra. You are perceptive in your supposition. Indeed, we meant not any suggestions that the physical apparatus of your current illusion were limited as a part of the veiling process. Your physical limits are as they are. However, because of the unique biases of each mind, body, spirit complex, there are sometimes quite simple instances of distortion. When there is no apparent cause for such a distortion. Let us use the example of the virile and immature male who meets and speaks clearly with a young female whose physical form has the appropriate configuration to cause for this male entity the activation of the red ray sexual arousal. The words spoken may be upon a simple subject such as a naming information as to the occupation and various other common interchanges of the sound vibratory complex. The male entity, however, is using almost all the available consciousness it possesses in registering the desirability of the female. Such may also be true of the female. Thusly, an entire exchange of information may be meaningless because the actual catalyst is of the body. This is unconsciously controlled and is not a conscious decision. This example is simplistic.
I've drawn a small diagram in which I simply show an arrow which it represents catalyst penetrating a line at right angles to the arrow, which is the veil, and then depositing in one of two repositories, one which I would call on the right-hand path, one on the left-hand path. And I've labeled these two repositories for the catalytic action as it's filtered through the veil, the experience. Would just be a very rough analogy of the way the catalyst is filtered through the veil to become experience.
I am Ra. Again, you are partially correct. The deeper biases of a mind-body-spirit complex pilot the catalyst around the many iodes of a positivity and a negativity as expressed in the archipelago of the deeper mind. However, the analogy is incorrect in that it does not take into account the further polarization which most certainly is available to the conscious mind after it has perceived the
Seems to me that the experience of the mind would act in such a way as to change the nature of the veil so that catalyst would be filtered so as to be acceptable more acceptable in the bias that is increasingly chosen by the entity. For instance, the entity chosen the right-hand path, the experience of the mind would change the permeability of the veil to accept more and more positive catalyst, and also the other would be true for accepting more negative if the left-hand path were the one that was being repeatedly chosen. Is this correct?
Okay. Yeah. This is not only correct, but there is a further ramification. As the entity increases in experience, it shall more and more choose positive interpretations of catalyst if it is upon the service to others path, and negative interpretations of a catalyst if its experience has been along the service to a self path.
Then the mechanism designed by the Logos, the action of catalyst resulting in experience, was planned to be self-accelerating in that it would create this process of, shall I say, a variable permeability that was a function of the chosen path. Is this an adequate statement?
There is no variable permeability involved in the concepts we have just discussed. Except for this, you are quite correct.
I can understand, to use a poor term again, the necessity for an archetype for catalyst or a model for catalyst of the mind. But what is the reason for having a blueprint or model for experience of the mind other than this simple model of the dual repository for the negative and positive catalyst? It would seem to me that the first distortion of free will would be better served if no model for experience were made. I'm somewhat confused on this. Could you clear it up?
I am Ra. Your question is certainly interesting, and your confusion hopefully productive. We cannot learn, teach for the student. We shall simply note, as we have previously, the attraction of various archetypes to a male and to female. We suggest that this line of consideration may prove productive.
The fourth archetype, the card shows a male. His body faces forward. I assume this indicate that the experience of the mind will reach for catalyst. However, the face is to the left, indicating to me that the reaching for catalyst, the negative catalyst will be more apparent in its power and effect than the positive. Would Ra comment on this?
I am Ra. The architect of experience of the mind reaches not, O student, but with firm authority grasps what it is given. The remainder of your remarks are perceptive.
The experience is seated upon the square of the material illusion, which is colored much darker than in card number 3. However, there is a cat inside this. I am guessing that as experience is gained, the second density nature of the illusion is understood, and the negative and positive aspects are separated. Raw comment on this?
I and Ra. This interpretation varies markedly from Ra's intention. We direct the attention to the cultural meaning of the great cat, which guards what a student does it guard. And with what Oriflamme does is lighten that darkness of manifestation. The polarities are indeed present. The separation, non-existent, except through the sifting, which is the result of cumulative experience. Other impressions were intended by this configuration of the seated image with its milk a white leg and its appointed foot.
What was the last word that Ra communicated? I didn't quite hear it.
I am Ra. We spoke the sound, a vibration, a complex foot due to some pain, flares. We are at times less than secure in the speaking. However, the way is open and conditions remain good for this working. Please continue to query if there is any difficulty in a transmission.
In card 3, the feet of the female entity are upon the unstable platform, signifying the dual polarity by its color. In card 4, one foot pointed indicates that if the male entity stands on the toe, it will be carefully balanced. The other foot is pointed to the left. Manny, would Ra comment on the observation that the entity stands on this foot? It will be very, very carefully balanced.
I am Ra. This is an important perception, for it is a key to not only this a concept, a complex, but to others as well. You may see the T square, which at times written as is a 1 foot. From secure fundament by the nature of experience, yet still by this same nature of experience is carefully, precisely, and architecturally placed in the foundation of this a concept, a complex, and indeed in the archetypical mind complex. Experience has the nature of more effectively and poignantly expressing the architecture of experience, both the fragility of structure and the surety of structure.
It would seem to me that from the configuration of this male entity in card 4, it looks to the left and the right foot is pointed to the left, that this card would indicate that you must be in a defensive position with respect to the left-hand path, with no need to concern yourself about protection with respect to the right-hand path. Ra, comment on that?
I am Ra. Again, this is not the suggestion we wish to offer by constructing this image. However, the perception cannot be said to be incorrect.
The magical shape is now almost, well, it's right on the right edge of the card, indicating that to me that the spiritual, or let's say the spiritual significance is on the right edge of the card, indicating to me that the spiritual experience would be the right-hand path. I'll comment on that.
I am right. Yes. The figure is expressing the nature of experience by having its attention caught by what may be termed the left hand catalyst. Meanwhile, the power, the magic, is available upon the right hand path. The nature of experience is such that the attention shall be constantly given varieties of experience. Those that are presumed to be a negative or interpreted as negative may seem in abundance. It is a great challenge to take catalyst and devise the magical, positive experience. That which is magical in the negative experience is much longer coming, shall we say, in the third density.
Now, both the third and fourth archetypes, as I see it, work together for sole purpose of creating the polarity in the most efficient manner possible. Is this correct?
I am right. This cannot be said to be incorrect. We suggest contemplation of this thought complex.
Then prior to the veiling process, that which we call catalyst after the veil was not catalyst simply because it was not efficiently creating polarity, because this loading process, you might say, that I have diagrammed of catalyst passing through the veil and becoming a polarized experience, was not in effect, because the viewing of what we call catalyst by the entity was seen much more clearly as simply an experience of the one creator, and not something that was a function of other mind, body, spirit complexes. Would Ra comment on that statement?
I am Ra. The concepts discussed seem without a significant distortion.
Thank you. Then we're expecting in card number 4 to see the result of catalytic action, and therefore a greater definition between the dark and the light areas. In this card, we just glancing at it, we notice that it is more definitely darkly colored in some areas and more white in others, in a general sense, in card number 3, indicating to me that the separation along the two biases has occurred and should occur to follow the blueprint for experience. I'll comment on that.
I am Ra. You are perceptive, oh student.
The bird in card 3 seems to be now internalized in the center of the entity in card 4, in that it has changed from the flight, then has achieved its objective and become part of the central part of the experience. Ra, comment on that.
I am Ra. This perception is correct, oh student, but what shall the student find the bird to signify?
I would guess that the bird signifies that communication that comes as catalyst, signified in card 3, is accepted by the female and abused, becomes a portion of the experience. Not sure of that at all. Is that anyway correct?
I am Ra. That bears little of sense.
I'll have to work on that. I'm guessing that the crossed legs of the entity in card 4 have a meaning similar to the cross of the crux ansata. Is this correct?
I am Ra. This is correct. The cross formed by the living limbs of the image signifies that which is the nature of mind, body, spirit complexes in manifestation within your illusion. There is no experience which is not purchased by effort of some kind. No act of service to self or others which does not bear a price to the entity manifesting commensurate with its purity. All things in a manifestation may be seen in one way or another to be offering themselves in order that transformations may take place upon the level appropriate to the action.
The bird is within a circle on the front of the entity in card 4. Would that have the same significance as the circular part of the crux ansata?
It is a specialized form of this meaningful shape. It is specialized in a great part due to the nature of the crossed legs of manifestation which we have previously discussed.
The entity of card 4 wears a strangely shaped skirt. Is there a significance to the shape of the skirt?
Yes.
Skirt is extended toward the left hand, but somewhat shorter toward the right. There is a black bag hanging from the belt of the entity on the left side. It seems to me that this black bag has a meaning of the acquiring of material possessions and wealth as a part of the left-hand path. Draw a comment on that.
I am wrong. Although this meaning was not intended by Ra as part of this a complex of concepts, we find the interpretation quite acceptable. As we observe a lull in the questioning, we shall take this opportunity to say that the level of transferred energy dwindles rapidly, and we would offer the opportunity for one or more full question at this working, if it is desired.
I would just state that this card, being male, would indicate that as experience is gained, the mind becomes the motivator, or that which reaches or does more than the simple experiencer prior to the gaining of, or the prior to the catalytic action. That is, there is a greater tendency for the mind to direct the mind-body-spirit complex. And other than that, I'll just ask if there's anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the content.
I am Ra. In the context of your penultimate query, we would suggest that you ponder again the shape of the garment which the image wears. Such habiliment is not natural. The shape is significant and is so along the lines of your query. The support group cares well for the instrument. We would ask that care be taken as the instrument has been offered the gift of a distortion towards extreme cold by the fifth density, a friend, which greets you. Although you may be less than pleased with the accoutrement, may we say that all was as carefully prepared as each was able. More than that, none can do. Therefore, we thank each for the careful alignment. All is well. We leave you, my friends, in the love and in the